Hello, and welcome to the last episode of A Study in Purple.
Hello, guys.
Presented to you by WECB, the underground staff of American College.
Of what college?
I'm at the Young College.
So, welcome to episode 10, entitled Pretty Boy.
I'm so pretty.
Is that the title we settled on?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
It was just, it was something else, too, that we thought of.
Catfish?
Yeah.
Pretty
Old
face.
catfish.
Old cat. So I was not on board with that.
Not that one, okay, great.
But catfish is fine.
I feel like it would have been cool for the design for the Instagram, just to, put a catfish next to it, being, sick.
Yeah. I'm gonna do that after the episode.
So nobody knows this episode's happening.
No, I posted.
Sure.
Ralph knows, he's awake.
Well, just because you bothered.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So...
Let's get started.
Yes. So yes, this is our last episode. It's episode 10. It is final. It is no more afterwards. Nada. Very sad. You will cry. We will cry.
I won't. Ha.
That's great.
I'll be happy because I'm going to LA, guys. But Nina's staying, so you still have her. Just kidding. She's not coming back. She doesn't want to do this by herself. So we'll tell her in the comment section.
What is this spouting of information?
Tell her in the comments.
Why don't you read my social security number?
So Anita's social security number is 024176947. Who knows? Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. Try it.
So as always, this is a true crime podcast. You're listening to A Study in Purple, by the way.
I thought we were talking about the Vampire Diaries.
Oh. No, this is a different kind of show. So, listen at your own discretion. We don't dive into any, heavy topics and gruesome topics, but it is still a true crime show, and we mention stuff like crime,
nasty,
and death, and murder,
and bludgeoning,
abuse, substance abuse,
addiction,
blood, domestic abuse, and other triggering topics. And we know that this content isn't for everyone, so take care of yourself. And if this stuff isn't for you, please leave.
We go to Emerson. How do we take care of ourselves?
I don't know.
That's
a good question.
I asked all the relevant ones. Yes. Anyway.
I asked. That's funny. And if you noticed, I'm more awake for this one than the last one.
Because the last one, Nina hated me.
No, the last one I was so jet lagged.
I went to Kazakhstan.
Anyways,
how dare you leave me? We didn't have an episode for a whole week. It's fine. It's okay. I'm over it.
I feel like you need to talk into them.
I'm over it.
Okay. So anyways, today we're going to talk about Theodore Robert Cowell. Yeah. Ever heard of him? You ever heard of Cowell?
I actually haven't heard of Cowell.
Teddy Cowell?
No, not Teddy Cowell.
Yeah. So, Teddy Cowell was born on November 24th in Burlington, Vermont. And his mother's name was Eleanor Cowell. And his father's identity was never confirmed. His mother, claimed that Teddy's father was a retired veteran who abandoned her when she became pregnant. And on his birth certificate, it said that his father was some salesman who was, a retired U.S. Air Force guy named Lloyd Marshall. But there was also a version of his birth certificate that says that his father is quote-unquote unknown. Which is great. Imagine birth certificate and it's just unknown.
What's wrong with that?
I don't know. It's just kinda
it's fine. What's new with these serial killers? I feel like they all got daddy issues.
Yeah. I agree with that, but wait, what?
They all do.
Are we really... Wait, is it just my Where am I plugged into?
We're all the way up.
Is it this one? Oh, this is this one. Okay. So for the first 3 years of his life, Theodore, or Teddy, lived in Philadelphia with his grandparents.
Born and raised to the Playhouse. Sorry.
Samuel Cowell and Eleanor Longstreet, not to be confused with Eleanor Cowell, his mother, because apparently they could only think of 3 names in your family. So, yeah. So
you know how you like always marry your mother, like type thing, or like your like father. Like you marrying like your parents basically, yes. But like they're like other version of them. With this, like, same personality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically this.
Okay,
but, like,
Freud.
Actually Eleanor. Sigmund Freud. Anyway. Continue.
No, his name was Samuel.
I know. I know it's Samuel.
No, this guy's.
Yes, the grandfather.
Yeah. Anyways, so he was raised by his grandparents, and Teddy always spoke very warmly of his grandparents, and he clung to his grandfather, Samuel.
Samuel.
However, some witnesses say that Samuel was a tyrant and very abusive and a bully who beat his wife and dog. And by all accounts but Teddy's, he was quite a terrible human being.
Same.
Yeah. So Samuel and Eleanor Longstreet raised Teddy as their own son. He wasn't told that he wasn't their son. And he was actually told that Eleanor Cowell, his mother, was actually his older sister.
Me too.
And yeah, because he was born in the 1940s, and they were trying to avoid the stigma of like childbirth out of wedlock. So that's why he was raised like that. But then eventually he discovered the truth about his parentage, and for the rest of his life he resented his mother for not telling him about his father and leaving him to find out the truth for himself. So yeah. In 1950, Teddy and his mother, Eleanor, they moved to Tacoma, Washington, where Ted's mother married Johnny Bundy, who adopted Ted.
Wait a minute. Does that mean...
And Teddy became Teddy Bundy, or more famously known as Ted Bundy.
Oh my god, wait, I know that name. That's wild.
Wait a minute.
This is such a lame joke. Never mind. I was been planning it since the beginning for you to say it.
What joke?
Because you were like, do you know Ted Cowell? And I'm like, no, I do not. I know Ted Bundy. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is the most obvious case to do, and that is partially why it's our concluding case. Also, this is actually my introduction to true crime. Like, this is the first case. Mm-hmm.
Also, we ran out of ideas, so.
No, we didn't run out of ideas. I have so many more ideas. There's so many more people.
Okay, next
Hollie
semester.
ran out of ideas.
I didn't run out of ideas. We could have done the New England serial killer right now. That's so relevant. No, it's literally all over my TikTok. It's great.
I know. My mom was like, don't go outside. You're gonna die. I'm like, bro.
And I'm like, I wish.
What do you want? Someone's not taking finals well.
Hey. I'm not saying if someone came along and was like, hey, I want to take you to this nice little box where you don't have to do your homework and I have an excuse to get out of finals because I was kidnapped, like, hey.
What if it was a nice man who looked really pretty and he had a crutch and he was like, hey, help me carry all these books to my car. They're so heavy. And you were like, yes. So
there's one problem with that. I wouldn't have said yes. I would have knocked down his crutch, like karate chop him with my foot.
That's what people always think.
Sweep him under.
Yeah. My brother, like, whenever I was trying to tell him a story, like, whenever I tried, like, actually, Bunny Boy, when I tried to tell him a story that's like, oh, if you don't go to sleep, this like, monster's gonna come and eat you, he's always like, I'm gonna kick them, and I'm gonna kill them. And it's like, no, you won't. You literally won't. I literally just tucked you in, and you can't get out of the blanket, you're going to kill someone.
You're gonna die.
That's what you sound like. I'm like karate chop his crutch, bro.
So I'm gonna sweep it up under him, so that he falls down. And guess what? I don't get killed then. Kind of crazy. But then I have a life-changing story. Professor, I was almost kidnapped.
And then you don't have to do finals.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
You know the thing where it's like, oh, if someone dies, then like everybody, like the school year ends and everybody gets A's type thing?
Sure.
Because that was like a trend on TikTok for a while, being like, who's gonna do it?
I heard that it's like if your school burns down, then everybody graduates immediately.
Yeah.
So there was a joke.
Who's gonna commit arson?
Yeah, when I was like applying to college, it was like, oh, like arson, LOL. Like, okay.
Arson, LOL.
So anyways, so Teddy was adopted by Johnny Bundy, and he became Ted Bundy.
Yeah, I forgot we're doing a true crime.
Yeah, as he's famously known. Ted Bundy attended University of Washington, and he studied psychology, which seems very fitting. He was considered very charismatic and intelligent by a lot of his peers and professors. And he was eventually accepted into law school,
Bro
but
was
he
smart.
never completed his studies.
Bro was smart.
Yeah.
Smart. You know, like the boss.
Wicked smart.
Wicked smart.
Yeah.
Luckily, he never came to New England.
Well, he was, he was in Vermont, so.
That's not New England.
Isn't it? I thought it is.
Connecticut, Massachusetts, not Maine, no, Rhode Island. I didn't think that Vermont counted because New York doesn't count.
Wait. New England states. This is so...
Sidetracked.
No, Vermont does count. It's Connecticut, Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and Vermont.
There's only
7 states. No, it's 7.
I don't know how to count.
Oh.
One,
no, wait.
2,
oh, no,
3,
it consists of
4,
6 states.
5, 6. Yeah.
6 states, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bruh. Okay, never mind.
Yes. So, fun fact for the night. It's 6 states. Get a pen.
Vermont?
You got a pen?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Connecticut, CONNECTI, like cut at the end.
Okay, yeah.
Next. Maine.
We're gonna spend the rest of the show talking about the New England states if we keep doing that.
No, it's great.
Vermont. VEROAO.
Yeah.
NT.
Try spelling Massachusetts.
MASSACHUSETTS.
So yeah, so he dropped out of law school, and then by the early 1970s, Bundy presented. He was like a very articulate, very clean-cut man, and he was interested in politics and law, and he had he was this very charming young man, very, aspirational man. But he also developed fantasies of violence, control, domination, and stalking behavior. So yeah.
Which is not really cool of him,
Yeah. I also didn't know his last name was Cowell initially.
Well, it's like coward.
Well,
yeah, put me comedy
cow.
minor.
Literally, it's cow. It's cow? L.
Yeah, but like coward. Get it? Because he's a coward. Whatever. Okay.
I don't know if there's any evidence for that, but go on.
Well, bro killed, and that's very cowardly. So, Ted Bundy doing these series of attacks and kidnappings throughout his time, and ultimately killing at least 36 women that were at least confessed, which we'll get to a little bit later. But anyway, with the investigation leading to his arrest, basically with how he's smart, but not that smart. Okay, sometimes he got away.
Not wicked smart.
Not wicked smart, but maybe just kind of smart. Which is fine, I guess. But he could have tried a little harder. No, I'm just kidding. But, like, these girls eventually did end up escaping. Or people
Not
go...
all of them, but...
Well, at least one. Ended up escaping and being like, that's the one. And getting arrested for that. So anyway, originally being charged with, like, for kidnapping a girl. And then another girl, of course, like I said, escaped. And was able to pinpoint Bundy, because he, like, found Bundy because of, like, having a stolen car. Bro just is not good at, like, hiding. Because every time it was like, so, like, this stolen car, and then Bundy's just in there. Hello. They didn't originally know that it was Bundy, but it was Bundy. And Bundy was charged on multiple different accounts before of different murders and how they were able to, kind of arrest him. Anyway, so eventually when he was put into custody, the girl that he originally, like, kidnapped identified him and be like, yes, this is the guy that kidnapped me and tried to do nasty things to be PG, and then eventually sent him to jail. Yippee. But you think that's it, right? Like, no. Because bro had other plans. He was a escape artist. People referred to him as...
Escape artist? No.
He was Houdini. Like, I don't know what to say. He, be escaping on the reg. So, one of the times he was being moved to a different facility, so that way they can, like, have him more secure so he wasn't going to escape. But he did. He shimmied out of a... It was a 12 by 12, like, little container box. Like, it was 12 inches by 12 inches, which is crazy. That he shimmied his body out through the top and, like, pulled himself up, like, through one of those, like, vans.
That's crazy.
That,
That's
like,
wild.
they, like, took the prisoners in. So, I feel like he, like, deserved to escape at that point, you know? Like, he put in the effort. No, he doesn't. He's not a terrible person. But he got out the first time there. And then eventually, I guess, like, was, like, arrested again throughout a different period. And then they, like, dug up a hole and escaped at the prison. That's what he did. It was, like, straight out of a cartoon. When you see on TV shows, straight out of there. And he was like... And then eventually he escaped.
I just have an image of, like, shimmying.
That's what he did. I'm sorry. That, like, he fit his little body in there. He was very smart.
I don't know if that's classified as smart, but I don't know if, like, I
they had, like, a
fit
vent
through a little hole. People would be like, wow, you're so smart.
Okay, but, like, why hasn't anyone else done it before?
That's true, that's true.
Like, clearly, he's super smart. He's wicked smart.
Wicked smart.
Smart. Wicked smart. And then, of course, escaping a few times, which, the Houdini in him, really, the escape artist in him. Anyway, but because of all these murders and everything led to him being a prime suspect, he traveled along the states, so that way it was harder for people to find him because of jurisdiction of police officers only went so far, but because of how national this went, they were fine with it. They were like, hey, you know, you guys go. So they worked really hard, and then also Bundy would be always talking more in, like, the third person during investigations because he never wanted to officially confess. So they'd be like, this person or this individual instead of saying I. Yeah. And that's just how, like, they spoke.
I think it's also because he, like, I had a thought and then it just left. I think it's also because he did go to law school, so he was trying to act like as his own lawyer. So he was like, this person did. And it's like, bro, this person is you. You can't be a lawyer and the suspect at the same time.
Because they were asking questions that were like, do you think this person would keep memorabilia from his victims? And it was like, you know, I think it's really possible that this person might. I'm like, bro, do we not all, like, agree here that, like, Maybe
was,
it's you.
trying to psychoanalyze himself, but pretend it wasn't him.
No, for sure. And that's why a lot of the police officers were like, hey, is he trying to, like, not file, but, like, go with the, what is it called? The mental, like, the insanity plea.
Oh, yeah, like, Dahmer.
Yes. But, like, the guy was like, nah, he's not.
Yeah. Wait, but Dahmer was tried, after, because when was, Bundy was tried in what year?
78.
78, and then...
And the Dahmer was in 88.
Yeah.
10-year difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. I was just fact-checking.
Okay. And then, eventually, on February 15th at 1:30 a.m., a police officer noticed a stolen car. Not just any car, though. A orange Volkswagen Beetle. Yuck.
Why orange?
I don't know. That's just what they had.
Just what they had. Like a prop house.
Well, because Bundy was just going along, like, the street and, like, what doors were open for cars. And now it's just one that was open.
Wait, was this car stolen the whole time?
He switched out cars
throughout. Okay. Because this is, like, his signature car, you know?
Yes. But, like, this one, the orange one, was at least, like, the final one.
But he just switched between...
Different
like,
color Volkswagens, yes.
Different Beetles?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Hey, the Beetles were popular at that time.
This guy's like, I gotta steal a car, but it's a very specific car.
Hey, I would too. I'm stealing that cyber truck. Very inconspicuous. Okay, don't get the joke, it's fine.
No, I was reading this line.
But like, I would steal a cyber truck because very inconspicuous.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for laughing though. So basically taking Bundy into custody and like was the but initially like was resisting arrest, and also they didn't know at first that it was Bundy. They thought it was a random guy, but then fact checking and like looking through the records, especially since he was so nationwide, then he was able to be like, oh my god, you're Ted, huh? You're Teddy. That's crazy. And there's so many posters of him that people were putting up, and people were looking high and low for Bundy. Looking high and low. So, yeah. I mean, especially, like, in the movie that I was watching about it, like, it was just, like, a guy wearing, a potato sack on his head, and they put up posters in that and be like, have you seen this man? Bruh, how is a potato sack gonna help? Like, damn, I didn't realize we're eating potatoes in here.
Have you never identified someone by their potato sack? Like, I do it all the time.
Like, maybe if they're wearing a potato sack for their clothes, because that's usually me. Like, that's how people identify me, because I just look like a potato.
That's not even true.
Anyway, Bunny looks like a potato. Anyway.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
So they took him in for a stolen car, but they also discovered that he was traveling. He's a very traveled killer. And yeah, traveling and killing people. He killed in, how many states is this? I need to count real quick.
8?
7, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's where we're getting the 7
Yeah,
from,
yeah.
not the New England states.
So, California, Colorado, Florida,
Tennessee,
Idaho, Oregon, Utah, and Washington.
Wow.
He had, or has, 20 confirmed victims, 30 victims that he confessed to.
36.
No, 30. And then 36 plus that are suspected that he killed.
That's not what the movie said.
That's... But I think people are expecting, like, they're suspecting that he killed, like, hundreds, right?
Over 100, yes. Yeah. Over 100 women.
Yeah.
That's why they're travel in pairs.
And he was also it's kind of funny that when you Google serial killers, they're like active between. It's like, you know, like a musician. You're like active between, but it's like this is not Like, what do you mean active?
Like actively killing.
I know.
So like if they like killed in 1973, but just one person, then that's not active, you know. But like if they killed, like he killed over the 100 people in a course of 4 years.
Yeah. So this was between 1974 and 1978. Right before my parents were born.
Oh.
Yeah. So his victims were mostly college-aged women, some teens. He often lured them to, like, different locations, pretending to need help, like wearing a fake cast or sling, and asking them to help him carry books or, like, other stuff. He was sometimes impersonating authority, like police officers and firemen, and luring women like that. And he was also using his charm and confidence to disarm and, like, you know, people thought that he was, like, nobody suspected that he was a killer, you know?
Because he pretty boy.
Yeah, he pretty boy.
Pretty boy, could never kill.
Pretty face. Yeah.
Sure, that's definitely what I see. I'm getting it for the time he was pretty. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Not the vibes.
I
don't know, maybe it's a serial killer factor, but, like, maybe he's, like, not it for me.
I feel like he look, like, you know how, like, you take photos and people don't look good in photos, but then they look better in person? I feel like he looked better in person, you know?
Yeah, I hope so. Oh, it's very disappointing. That's why I was like, I don't know what we should call this episode Pretty Boy. That one stabbed you? Come on, I got higher standards. Anyway, we're terrible people.
We are. Oh. So in 1974 he was killing in Washington, Oregon, and Utah. The victims in Washington and Oregon were Linda Ann Haley on February 1st, 1974, Donna Gail Manson.
Oh. Relation?
March 12th, 74. Susan Rancourt, April 17th, and Roberta Kathleen Parks on May 6th, 74. She was in Oregon.
Oh, no.
The rest of them were in Washington. Haley was, or Healy?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Healy.
Was abducted from her basement bedroom.
Yeah.
Manson disappeared on a route to a concert. I don't know why I said it like that. That was very shaky. Rancourt was abducted from campus, and I don't know what happened to this one.
Because of Bundy being the same age as, like, you know, college students.
Yeah. He
was very easily, like, able to get away with acting like one, and he seemed very insuspicious.
Well, he would have been in grad school, so yeah.
Yes. And as well as being pretty, no one suspected him because he was like, oh yeah, you're still on campus and, like, you're, like, you seem pretty dope. And people, like, just, like, trusted him.
Yeah.
Lol.
So yeah, so he was abducting victims, or, like, when he was killing in Oregon, it was because it was a very short drive from Seattle, Washington, where he lived. So he was still in Washington and he would just drive down. And yeah. There was also Brenda Carol Ball, June 1st. Georgianne, Georgianne Hawkins, June 11th. She disappeared near I can't even pronounce that. She disappeared. And Janice Ott and Denise Maslod on July 14th.
You're doing great.
Who were abducted in broad daylight.
Yes.
This is when Bundy realized that police were linking disappearances in Washington together, and they were like, wait, this must be the same person. And so he decided to change locations and relocate, making his patterns harder to trace. So he went to Utah.
As all good people do?
Yes.
Like, what?
There his victims are Nancy Wilcox, Melissa Smith, Laura Aim, Carol DeRonch, DeRonch? Yeah. She survived the abduction, actually, and later helped convict him. Deborah Kent, who disappeared the same night as DeRonch.
Yes.
And afterwards, Bundy moved to Salt Lake City to attend law school. and continued murdering people. So he would like avoid suspicion because, you know, relocation.
Of course.
So this is when he moved to Colorado. So in 1975 he was in Colorado, where his victims are Julie Cunningham, Denise Oliverson. He would travel between Utah and Colorado to abduct victims, and that's where he actually got caught and jailed. And he escaped twice from prison, which is what Hollie mentioned.
Bro Houdini.
And after he escaped, he went back on a murder spree and killed Lynette Culver, Susan Curtis, who was the last known Utah victim. Oh, also, Lynette Culver was 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in Idaho. And then this is the most famous one, there was a Chi Omega sorority attack on January 15th, 1978 in Tallahassee, Florida. This is when he broke into a college campus and he killed Lisa Levy and Margaret Bowman. And then he injured Karen Chandler and Kathy Kleiner, who they survived, but they were severely injured. And then his last, known victim that was confirmed is Kimberly Leach on February 9th, in Lake City, Florida.
We went back to Utah.
Yeah, so he traveled from Utah, abducted a 12-year-old girl, this was that, and then after he escaped jail, he continued killing people. And somehow throughout this whole thing, he somehow maintained romantic relationships with people who, although some of them suspected him, he had a long-term relationship with this woman with a daughter, I forget her name, and she was, she suspected him and called the police, but then, everybody was just so charmed with him that nobody thought that he was murdering people.
Bro had the riz.
Yeah, and everybody said that he's very charming and a good father figure. Because, yes.
That's what I think about Ted Bundy.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And then going into a little bit about how this affected the media. Because I feel like especially for that time, there was quite a few things going on. Basically, it was the end of Bundy going into Manson era type vibe. Mm-hmm. So they did not get a break with serial killers at this time. They were just off the hook.
That's remember the book I got you, because it was the
70s.
Yeah, the decade of, there was a time in American history that was just filled with serial killers, and we had a whole problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think mine's is the 80s that you got me.
Yes.
And then I would like a 70s one, because that's pretty cool. I need to look into that.
Yeah. So you do like it?
Sure. I like my bunny. Sorry, where was I? So, like I was saying before, I made a whole movie. It was not a documentary. I feel like a lot of other serial killers, they actually did an hour and 46-minute movie of Ted Bundy, and they made some parts kind of interesting, I would say.
Hollie was watching this. Is this the movie you were watching?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hollie was watching this movie, and I thought it was 50 Shades of Grey. It sounded so bad.
Because there's a whole fantasy scene, and it's ew, stop it. And I don't know why they decided to portray.
You can't touch me, no. That's all I heard.
So it wasn't that part that said it, but it's fine. Basically, it was called Ted Bundy, American Boogeyman, which I find funny because, the boogeyman you never really see, but is there type vibe. Mm-hmm. And the movie does a good job of, portraying that, because I'm just going to spoil it, whatever. If you don't want to hear spoilers, then don't
Close
hear.
your ears for the next
2 minutes.
1 minute.
1 minute.
Go, you have 1 minute.
Oh, no. So basically, the police officer is, trying to, shoot Bundy, because this is in the Chi Gamma, house that murdered two of the girls, and then the other two were just seriously injured, whatever. And so the police officer was trying to shoot Bundy, basically, in this. And, like, they, like, had it so, like, Bundy was basically, like, you know, those, like, drunk, like, figure screens. Yeah. So, like, it seemed like he was there. He popped up, the woman would, like, shoot, and, like, he wasn't there anymore type vibe. Anyway, it was really weird how he depicted it, but very much boogeyman, very much Houdini, very much disappearing act. And just kind of, like, made a drama out of these killings, because I don't even know how much, like, of these conversations were real that they were having because of the detectives, like, having such a close connection to, like, the Bundy cases, and I felt like it was very over-dramatized, but because of just value added to it, whatever. And then you're saying, with Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, which is a 2019 film with Zac Efron. Yeah. Yippee! High School Musical.
That was a good film. I don't remember it very well, but it was good.
I never watched it.
Oh, it's good. You should check it out.
I won't. Yeah. So then also multiple news outlets, just, like, telling everyone to be like, watch out for him. And, like, it was blowing up in the media because of how many states that Bundy was traveling. And you never know where he was going to be next. Like, why did he go to Florida? Like, I feel like that has no correlation to, like, the West Side. And it felt, like, too far. Like, it felt, like, out of way. And I feel like that's why he did it. But, like, why go back?
Yeah.
After a while.
One thing I have to mention is, like, the book that you were talking about in the rise of serial killers in America during that time was because of the, like, highways and freeways that were built. And so people could travel more easily between states. And so it was kind of like that's when so many serial killers popped up, because you could travel and kill. And, like, Ted Bundy, so he would kill someone in Utah and then he would go to Florida next day. And it's just kind of like, you know, you avoid suspicion, and your pattern is so erratic that people can't trace you.
I didn't know about the highways. Crazy. But yeah, it was very erratic. And then everyone...
That's a good word.
Of course, like I said, the posters being made of him. There was a lot of news outlets being like, travel in pairs. Nobody did that, clearly. Like, bruh.
Travel in pairs.
Yeah, that's what the news was saying. Like, make sure to travel in pairs, even though so many women didn't. And especially on college campuses. And, like, why they went to Tallahassee.
Yeah. That's wild, because that's, like, ingrained in my brain. I was raised with, like, if you're ever outside, you better be with someone. If you're not with someone, like, you're gonna be dead.
I think they were with Bundy. So everyone was observing and witnessing the serial killer just, like, traveling and going from person to person. And just, like, he was just, like, on a spree, man. Like, this was, like, Black Friday shopping for him.
This is a very bad joke. This is so bad.
Sorry. But, like, he was just too pretty to kill, you know? And I feel like that's why he kind of also blew up a lot more, because they were like, oh, he's so hot. Why would he do this?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a common theme that we're seeing with the serial killers we pick. I feel like we're not, like, picking ugly people. Maybe that's a us thing. But, like, maybe next time we'll pick someone ugly.
Well, Manson wasn't pretty, I would say.
Well, everybody kind of liked Manson, though. Like, he was very, like, sexualized.
Interesting.
I mean, also, like, why he had, like, those people lured into his basement was because of his charms. Yeah. Kind of like Bundy in that way.
So, Ted Bundy's trial was one of the first nationally televised criminal trials in the U.S., and it played a major role in shaping public perception of serial killers in the legal system. So, he was tried in Miami, Florida in 1979. I believe there were several trials, but this is the one, because he was also tried for the 12-year-old girl and then something else. But this is the major one. So, he was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted murder and burglary. And so, this was for the Omega something.
The Tri-Omega trial.
Tri-Omega, yeah. And the evidence against them was, like, there was, like, a bite mark that matched Bundy's teeth. And there was a couple of eyewitnesses who matched Bundy's description, who saw him leaving the scene. Not the eyewitnesses matched Bundy's description, but the eyewitnesses saw a man matching Bundy's description. And
if the eyewitnesses matched his description, damn, arrest them all. He duplicated.
And then there was, like, fibers and hairs that were linked to Bundy that were found in the crime scene. So Bundy's defense strategy was to represent himself. Because he was like, I went to law school for a little bit, and now I'm a lawyer. That's how that works. Me too, man. Me too.
That's what Elle Woods. No, I'm just kidding. Not Elle Woods.
So he chose to represent himself, which allowed him to gain access to all the evidence, and manipulate evidence and kind of interrogate witnesses and all of that stuff. But it made him look very narcissistic and arrogant, because he was just like, nah, I got it. I don't need a public defender. Like,
I could do it myself.
Yeah, I got it, bro.
And unlike the other serial killers, like Charles,
yeah,
he actually went to law school, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah. So he often clashed with his court-appointed lawyers, because he was like, no, man, I got it. You don't know nothing. And I know this case better than you. But his legal knowledge was limited, so he was smart enough to appear competent, but he wasn't trained to actually represent anyone. He attempted to undermine physical evidence and witness credibility, so he filed motions to suppress evidence, like the bite marks and eyewitness testimony, which were all denied. He also, his behavior in court was interesting. He frequently smiled, he joked, he flirted with reporters and female witnesses. He treated the trial as a theater. He, cross-examined witnesses. He dressed very well. It was very much like a performance for him. He tried to appeal very likable and very charming and very, presentable while being tried for these horrific crimes. He also deliberately stared down witnesses in order to intimidate them, including survivors, like Carol Durant. He was trying to intimidate them, which was very, ew. And then at some point he proposed to Carol Ann Boone, who was his girlfriend at the time of, when he was being tried and being held in prison, who would, visit him and stuff, and they would write letters to each other, and they also had a child later together. But Carol Ann Boone, he proposed to her while on the stand, creating a spectacle in court, and it wasn't, romantic, it was more manipulative and kind of like a stunt, which was intended to appear, quote-unquote normal and throw off the jury, because here's this man who's very charming, very likable, he dresses well, he's very educated, very erudite, very smart, and he is, he has a girlfriend, and he's being tried for these crimes that are what do you mean? This, how can this even, this doesn't...
It's not fathomable.
Yeah. He also cited a legal loophole in Florida that a declaration of marriage in court with a judge present constituted a legal marriage, so that's how they were legally married. But eventually, after all of this and all of his shimmying, quote-unquote, he was convicted and sentenced to death on July 24th, 1979. That's the year my dad was born. And my mom, I guess, but...
I guess.
Well, my dad was born by the time he was convicted. My mom was born later. The judge also famously said, as a conclusion to the case, he said, "Take care of yourself, young man. I say that to you sincerely. Take care of yourself. It is an utter tragedy for this court to see such a total waste of humanity. I think, as I've experienced it in this courtroom. You're a bright young man. You'd have made a good lawyer, and I would have loved to have you practice in front of me. But you went another way, partner. I don't feel any animosity towards you. I want you to know that. Once again, take care of yourself." This was Judge Edward Cowell, not to confuse with Cowell.
Coward. Not.
Yes. Bundy appealed his sentence for nearly a decade before finally being executed by electric chair on January 24th in 1989 at Florida State Prison. So, why are we still talking about this?
This is our podcast.
Yeah.
We can talk about what we want. Not literally. I think we're still talking about it because it goes kind of in theme with our other podcasts at least. but I also think about serial killers having this god complex that they have, because of being so controlling. And like Bundy was saying, like, oh, he likes knowing that he was influenced in the last few moments of like these girls' lives, which is crazy. And like being able to kill it. And I've seen was like, bro, he got a god complex. Which just leads from them wanting to take people's lives and being like, hey, because I can. If I wanted to, I could.
Yeah.
And it's just very much showing. I feel like also, you're just weird.
Yeah. Controversial opinion, but like saying that someone has a god complex implies that there is a god who created all of us, and there is like a higher being that gifted us life, and therefore we can't decide about taking it away, you know? Which is like, yes, there's also more morality and all of that, which comes into play. But it's interesting how we kind of, like, not assign, but what's the word? We, like, credit all of that to God. Like, only God can make those decisions. I don't know, it's just interesting.
Which I think is why, like, God speaks to people. That's also what happened for, what's his name?
Dahmer?
No.
Manson.
Yeah, it was Manson. With Manson and my voice. With Manson and how he kind of, like, was doing all these cult stuff and all of that. And in a way, he kind of also had that God complex because of, he was literally saying that he was speaking to God. Mm-hmm. And that he was, like, an apostle and disciple from God. And that he would be doing all these things because of it. While Bundy never claimed to have that set, like, apostle thing, he still very much felt like he was the deciding factor. Like, he had the right to do that.
Yeah.
It just, I feel like they just have, like, major god complexes for serial killers overall in, like, certain factors. Even, like, Dahmer had, like, some to it, but also it was more, like, convenience at some points because of, like, luring them, and he wanted to just, like, use them for his own desires, but he couldn't let them just go, because otherwise they would just, like, go to the police, so he had to kill them. Like, just out of convenience and out of, like, it being exposed and exploited.
Yeah. Well, no, Dahmer wanted to, like, keep his victims, because he talked about it, how everybody was constantly leaving him, and he was like, well, everybody's leaving me, so the only way for me to have friends and to keep them is to literally murder them. And, like, they understand me better than living people, which is, like, okay.
I don't think that's, like, full-on God complex compared to Bundy. That was very much like, oh, I like seeing, like, the lights go out of their eyes, basically.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's definitely different in that sense.
Yeah.
And then, on top of,
I went to the honors pieces showcase this week. Was it last week? What do you mean? It was great.
Honors, ew.
I'm in honors.
I know. That's why I said it.
You just didn't get in. That's why you're salty about it.
I can't as a transfer.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Anyway, so I went to the honors presentations, and one of the presentations was about, like, how victims are just kind of erased, you know, and the way, it wasn't exactly about that, but it was about how, I talked later to the person about how when when all of this media is made, and when we're constantly talking about the person who did it, we kind of erase the victims. And this is why I read out the names and, like, the dates and stuff, because we're just, we're looking at it from, we're looking at Ted, and we're looking at, like, oh, he was smart, he was representing himself in court, and we're kind of erasing all of these people who were, I feel like I talk about this all the time, who were also people, And we're kind of, like, what's the word? It's like, it's not endorsing. What's the word I'm looking for? Enabling that God complex. And, like, the notion that other people don't matter in comparison to him, because we're still talking about Bundy, and we're still talking about him as a person, and him as, you know, pretty boy, and him as escape artist and Houdini, but we're not talking about any of the people in such detail.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially with this case, with Bundy, like, killing over 100 people.
Yeah.
Like, the media outlets don't want to be saying all those names.
And it's, yeah. It's so many people, too, and it's like, I don't know. I'm having a thought, but I can't, like, put it into words, you know? Yeah.
No, I know what you get. I know what you're getting at. Yeah, we only listed how many? Like, only, like, 18,
That's
right?
20. Because 20 that are confirmed.
Yeah. The 20 people that are actually confirmed and we, like, found a body for. But Bundy confessed so much more, and there is relatively a lot more, and there's a lot of families that were left unsatisfied. And I feel like that's also a common thing. That might be something that is with our law enforcement, something that kind of gets escaped by. I feel like also for the time, like, it wasn't that good. And I think that's why people are left with a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Especially now, like, what happened to these people, and a lot of, like, families are left without these answers because they were never found and after the fact. And especially to find over 100 people, like, hey, like, who, it's sad to say, but who's gonna care about those others, like, 64 girls?
Yeah. Well, I guess the thing I'm getting at is that you know, I don't think we should stop talking about Bundy or Dahmer or any of those people, but how do we tell the stories of other people involved, let's say, or unwillingly involved, in a meaningful way that's, you know, with care. And, you know, I know objectively it's not interesting to talk about a sorority girl, but it's also, you know, someone. And I feel like a lot of media representation of these cases, like we talked about with Dahmer and even with Bundy, are, like, really kind of offensive to the families of the victims and the victims, you know?
Well, yes, because I feel like it's mostly about, like, convicting Bundy and, like, putting him away. But, like, okay, like, what is that gonna, that's not gonna bring their family back.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
I guess the thought is, like, think about all the sides of the story.
Which
stories.
Never gets fully told.
Yeah.
Or there's always one person that tells the side differently than how another person's gonna tell it. And I feel like it's like a he said, she said type situation always. And never leads to any, like, true conclusions. But that's just none of my thoughts.
Anyways, this was Studying Purple.
You're welcome.
You're welcome for our presence this semester.
I'm sure everyone truly enjoyed us, and everyone stayed awake till 11 p.m. to listen to us.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, totally.
I'm thinking of someone very specific.
No.
All the love and...
No. Yeah, thanks so much, you guys, for joining us.
No way. Yes, thank you so much. And no, I wanna be like studying purple out.
Okay, let's not do that. No, you can't.
I wanna be cringy.
Okay, 3, 3, 2, 1. A study of purple out.